Hey, today I want to take a look at using the Kubernetes API from an external client. That means we're going to make requests, REST requests, to the Kubernetes API from outside the Kubernetes cluster, and we're going to create a secret. We're going to try and post a secret to Kubernetes. Right now, what we're looking at is Lens. If you're not familiar with Lens, super awesome tool for understanding what's going on in your Kubernetes cluster. It's like Kubernetes dashboard, only way better. So highly recommend if you haven't gotten your hands on it. Right now, what we're looking at, I've got a local kind cluster. This is for an Argo CD demo that I'm putting together. And right now in my default namespace, I've got some MySQL pods, right? What I want to do, I want to post a secret to this cluster, and that's going to have a new MySQL password for a pod that I will eventually deploy, right? So in order to do that, I need to have access. Okay, so if I look at some of my cluster roles down somewhere here, cluster roles, right? I have a bunch of cluster roles that have been installed, right? Some of them I installed as part of the Argo CD setup. Some of them came installed already as part of the Kubernetes default. And one of those is cluster admin. Now, I'm going to over provision the authorization on this example. Please don't do this in prod, right? If you need API access, give fine-grained API access. This is just for simplicity. And you can see this role has all of the access. It can do anything, right? It's got wildcard on resources, verbs, API groups. It can do literally anything. This is an example. Don't do this in prod. Okay, before we jump in any further, if you like where I'm going in this video, please feel free to drop a like. That helps me out a lot. If you want to see more content like this, consider subscribing. And if there's other content you want to see that I haven't covered, please consider adding a comment. Tell me what you'd like to see. Right now we're in my terminal, right? And we can see I've got this folder set up for this Argo CD demo that I'm putting together. And inside this folder, if I ls, I've got a few files, a few YAML files that we're going to work with, right? I'm going to be setting up this user for this demo. So if I cat this user file, we can see I'm setting up a service account called admin SA, right? And I'm going to bind that cluster admin role using a cluster role binding. Okay, so let me kubectl apply this. And I'm going to not get ahead of myself yet. All right, so now if I come back into Lens, let me pull Lens over. We should be able to see I've got a new service account. Yep, admin SA and a cluster role binding with admin SA cluster admin. Awesome. And what that does, that gives the cluster admin permission set to my admin SA in my default namespace. All right, everything's checking out so far. So that's great, but right now I have no way to represent myself as this service account, right? If I try to make a request, I still don't have any credentials yet. Now what Kubernetes allows us to do, it allows us to create a JWT for our user. So if I paste this command in, kubectl create token, admin SA, right? And we're already in the default namespace, so definitely pointing to the right user, right? I create this, it's going to generate a JWT, a JSON web token to represent that user. So I could use this JWT in my REST requests. Problem is, this token's only good for an hour. That's not very long at all, right? If I wanted to extend it just using kubectl, I can do that by passing in this duration flag, and I can specify something ridiculous like 10,000 hours. It'll expire sometime at the end of next year, right? Hit enter, and a new JWT is generated. That's cool and all, but these are both one-off credentials, right? If I try to run this command again, I'm going to get a totally different JWT again, and they're not stored anywhere for future reference. That could be good. We do like that in practice, right? But there's times when we do want it to be stored somewhere. So let me clear this out, and we'll start again here at the top, and I'm going to cat a different file called admin user secret. Here we go. Right, and what this is going to do, this is going to generate a secret, a Kubernetes secret, that's going to have a token. I can use that token to represent this user, and it's a long-standing secret, right? So it's stored in Kubernetes. So let me kubectl apply this. apply F, admin user secret. All right, great. So if I come back into Lens, where you at, Lens? If I bring Lens back over and I come into, close this out, I come into secrets. Where are secrets? Config secrets, here we go. There it is, admin SA token. I can open this up and I can see here's the token that was generated, right? Now this is base64 encoded, base64 encoded JWT, so it's base64 encoded twice, right? If I uncode it once or decode it once, I can see here's the JWT, right? And this is all of it. So if I copy this, I can now use this externally, but a different way. Let's say I want to get it using kubectl. I can do that too. So if I come back into terminal, right? Let me copy a command that I have stored over here, and I'll show you why, because it is not an obvious command at all. Right, so this is kubectl. There, kubectl get secret, right? Admin SA token. That's what we just generated. I'm going to focus on the JSON path data.token, right? So I'm getting the value specifically for token under the data object, right? And if you're familiar with secrets, the data object is where all of the secret stuff is stored. And then I'm going to base64 decode it. All right, so I hit enter and there it is again, right? That's the JWT. So you can get it either using something like Lens in a UI, or you can do it from the command line. So you might be wondering, well, how do we know where to send these REST requests? And the answer to that is we're going to use kubectl to tell us the address of our Kubernetes cluster API, right? Kubectl has access to all the information about all of our clusters based on our kubeconfig file, right? So if I type in this command here, right, kubectl config view, what that does is it's going to print out everything in my kubeconfig for all of my clusters. Now that's overkill. So I want to pass in this minify flag. That's going to specify only the current context, right? The cluster that I'm pointing to. And then from there, I'll pipe the output into a grep command, and I just want the line that has server in it. That's going to show me the URL for where my API server is. So if I hit enter, all right, here it is. Now this is a kind cluster, so it makes sense that it's running on localhost and it's exposed on port 53.126. If you were running anywhere, EKS, Azure, GCP, some on-prem cluster, right, this command will point you to the domain of your Kubernetes API. Now we've got our domain, time to figure out the endpoint, right? Well, Kubernetes publishes open API docs for every version that they've released, right? We're in version 1.31, cool, and I'm in the API overview right now. I want to see what the secrets endpoints are. So if I come over here to the left, I can see, let's see if we can, nope, we can't expand that, that's a bummer. All right, we've got secrets down here, cool. It is a little wonky and it's scrolling in scrolling, so just be aware of that. This is not my favorite site. All right, if I look at write operations, right, I can create by posting to the namespace that I want, right? This is the endpoint that I want to hit. So I'm going to hit API v1 namespaces default, because that's where my user lives, secrets. I'm going to post a secret object that's going to look a lot like what we see in a YAML file, right? Only it will be JSON. All right, so now we're looking at Insomnia. And if you're not familiar with it, you haven't seen my previous videos, Insomnia is an alternative to Postman. I like it better. It's got a dark mode. Anyway, it does the same basic thing, right? And I can pass in different parameters to make REST requests. So I've got just kind of a test get request set up, right? I'm pointing to my URL that we saw before. I'm just going to list pods. All the pods and all the namespaces, just see if this works, right? Simple request. Authorization, I need to pass in a bearer token, and I've copied the token that we saw before, right? The token that we generated. So let me send this request. Neat, it came back with every single pod I've got running in every namespace, Argo CD, MySQL, bunch of stuff. Okay, cool. That's not important. Let's bring this back down. That's what we really wanted to do, is we wanted to post a secret. right? So I've got a post to my domain, right? Domain we saw earlier, API v1 namespaces. I'm parameterizing the namespace. Okay, so I can pass in a parameter using this tab, and we'll get to that in a second. And I'm gonna post it to the secrets endpoint. Neat. So let me make sure that I've got my latest, got my latest token pasted in. All right, parameters, namespace, right? That's this namespace. I'm passing in default. Awesome. And for a body, let's look at what this looks like. Okay, I'm creating, this is JSON version of the YAML that we're used to seeing, right? So this is, I'm creating a secret on the API v1. We're gonna call it immutable. Demo post secret will be the name of it, right? I'm gonna label this, and you'll see why in a second. I'm gonna label this MySQL user, some user. Here's the base 64 encodings of the username and the password that I wanna pass in as a secret, and let's post it. And it's created, right? I'll pull this up and we can see all of the stuff, right? Here's my data. Yep, exactly as I set it up. Now, why did I point out the label? Well, you can use query params in the Kubernetes API, and the docs specify what all of them are, right? I can list secrets and add parameters to filter down based on those labels, right? I can pass in a label selector, MySQL, the URL encoding for the equal sign, which is, %3D, that's equals. What did we call them? What did we call them? Some user? Some user. All right. And you can see it's pasted in up here, right? It's appended, one might say, to the URL for me by Insomnia. Okay, so let's see if this works now. So I was able to post my secret. Now, let's see if I can get my secret by using a query parameter to specifically target just that one. I get, and what happened? Yeah, there it is, demo post secret, right? And that's going to match what we see in Lens. If I were to bring Lens over, where did I leave Lens? Over here. And I come back into secrets. There it is, demo post secret, right? And it's got all the information. It's got the password, the username. How cool is that? If you like this video, please feel free to drop a like. If you want to see more content like this, consider subscribing. If there's other content that you want to see, I'm open to suggestions. Please leave a comment.